Hey, you gamer. Yeah. Bring it in. Come on, a little closer. Little closer. That's it. I just want to tell you something. I want to tell you that battle mats are not just for markers. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. And I want to show you how you can do that. So let's hit my table and I'll show you how to use these cool battle mats. Our first texture is a cobblestone. I really like it. I like how the grid lines kind of disappear into the texture itself. Nice texture. And then the next texture is like a Grassland Woodland set, and it's really nice. This is a two-sided mat, so you get that. That comes with the set. You get two mats that are actually two-sided, which is really nice. The next one is kind of a parchment or desert texture, and I really like that. That's cool. The last side of the battle mat is just white, and that's good for generic games or that kind of thing, and I'll show you later how I would use that. The set also includes 4 dry erase markers, an eraser to erase those, and a set of dice, so that's pretty cool. Now, you could use these in the traditional sense, like you use the dry erase markers and draw on the grid, makes it really easy to draw on. You have some different colors you can play with. You can also draw on the textured mats, so that's a really nice background for those. But I don't tend to use them in that traditional sense. Let's hit my table and I'll show you how I do use these. So here's a setup I might do with the grass side of the mat, right? And I've got kind of a jungle setting. I've got Roderick and Hilga. And you can move along the grid there. And I like how the grid isn't super visible, right? You can still see it, but it's not overpowering the piece. And I have all my scatter down here, which really adds a nice 3D element to the mat. But the mat gives me a nice base to add all this stuff to. And if I want to use the grid, I have it there. You can also think of the mat as kind of negative space, right? And I'm going to show you my 2.5D next method of using that negative space on the mat. Here is my 2.5D next method utilizing the empty space, and there's Roderick there for scale. So let's take a look at this. So really nice little dungeon here, and I've used the walls and just built out a space, a orc stronghold here in this case, and just use a lot of my different crafts and that kind of thing to fill in the scatter for the different rooms and all that. And yeah, the 2.5D next works really great on these mats. And you have the grid if you want to use the grid. And the grid isn't, like I said, isn't super prominent, so it doesn't distract from the visual of the dungeon if you don't want to use it. But if you do, you have it there. So very nice. Another thing with these mats is you don't have to use them for the negative space. You can use it for the aesthetic appeal of the setup, right? So here I have my tilescapes, and I've set up my inn on top of the mat. And then the mat background becomes the cobblestones around the inn. And it gives a really nice look to this. It really adds, I think, to the visual appeal of the scene. If you like what you see here at the end, it's my Tilescapes isometric terrain method. And check out my Tilescape vids if you're interested in seeing how to do that. And one word on this session, you might wonder what's going on. Well, my players were tricked by these assassins to go to this inn, and they got trapped in the inn that was shuttered and locked. And then they set off these alchemical fire barrels. And it became an inferno. The players were trapped inside. The window shutters and doors were glyphed, so the players really had a horrible time with this. And yeah, it was a pretty harrowing encounter, but they managed to get out alive. Here I have another setup with a Wasteland Raiders camp, right? And it's all just scatter on the parchment board here, which looks like kind of waste. And as we move around, we see the adventurers kind of sneaking up on the camp from behind this rock. And we have Roderick there prominently in front leading the group. I also wanted to show you how you could use this to mark where the grid is without actually having the grid on your terrain, right? So let me show you that. So for example, you have this terrain here and there's no grid on it, right? But it's sitting on a gridded surface. So if you kind of look down, you can kind of imagine where the grid would be, and that can give you, an idea of where, spell effects and that kind of thing might happen. So you don't necessarily have to have grids on everything you make, right? There's a plain white side on the back of the parchment side, and you can use that as a traditional map where you draw on it. But I like to do things like this, where I actually do simulate the 2.5D next that I did earlier with the Orc Dungeon, but it's more of kind of a modern setting, or more kind of an anonymous setting, right? And I have a kit that I use to do this stuff. So if I'm playing a game that doesn't really fit, particularly with the miniatures or, the terrain that I've got, then I can do this. I could do a more abstract kind of silhouette version of it. To do this, I just have a generic GM kit, okay? And it's just easy to tote around, and I can do really kind of any setting, right? So what I do is I have this box of sticks that are like, they're 1/4-inch sticks I painted black, and they're just like my 2.5D Next. It's just more of an abstract idea. I also have another box of like tokens so that I can use to, add for terrain. These could be anything from boxes and barrels to pillars, just whatever you described in the setting. And I also have another box of pawns. So these are generic, pawns and meeples and that kind of thing. And you can use these for the heroes, as well as the villains. And another thing you could do is you could make, a flat washer and put a portrait of the character on that, so it's a little more distinctive than the pawn. And then the enemies can all just be the pawns. A 1-inch paper punch really makes crafting these pawns a snap, and you just do your artwork and then pop them out with this punch, and they're perfectly round, so very nice, and they fit right on the washer. Here's the tube the battle mats come in, and let's check that out. So I'll pop the top here, and here's our items that come with it: the dry erase markers, dry erase eraser, and the dice. Nice set of dice, polyhedral dice there. Okay, move that aside. Now, one complaint is that these are hard to get out. So what I do is I just kind of rotate it, the inner ring there, and it kind of shrinks it down a little bit, and then you can pull it out of the tube. So just easy. Now, another problem is these have like kind of a memory, right? They want to stay in that round shape. Well, that's pretty easy to fix in here. I'll show you how to do that. So just take your tube and then roll it the opposite way, right? And then that helps get rid of that memory there in the sheet. All right, cool. Easy peasy. Ready for the game.
Hey game friends, if you did like the ideas in this video, you can pick up the mats at my link below. Also give your old Scotty a like if you did like the ideas, and consider my Patreon. This helps me bring more videos and get more materials and to show the community and work on for different projects. So that really helps me, and you get a little extra content from the DM Scotty. Also check out my other videos, some other great material. I have hundreds of other videos for you to peruse. Hope you guys liked what you saw. Take care, go forth and craft, and have fun gaming.